Hello and welcome to Sippin' Tea with Sheri, where I hope to foster connections, community, and meaningful conversations. I invite you to grab a cup of tea or whatever hot drink you prefer and enjoy listening in on our conversation today. Hello and welcome back to Sippin' Tea with Sheri. I'm still figuring out all the technical difficulties, and we're just going to go with one microphone because that's all I can figure out how to get working, and I can't figure that stuff out right now. I'm here with my sister Tiffany. She is now Tiffany Gehman, but she was Tiffany Fox when I was growing up with her. We are 3 years apart, and we have some similar life circumstances that we are going to be talking about today, and we'll get into that soon. But yeah, welcome to the podcast, Tiffany.
Thanks. Great to be here.
We're going to talk some about our family life growing up and some things that we were dealing with. So when we were younger, our brother was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy, when he was 8 and you were 7?
Yeah, probably.
And I was
approximately
4.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about that time and some things that Tiffany was dealing with over that time. What was going through your mind during that time when Ryan was diagnosed?
Yeah, I remember the first time when mom and dad, well, I guess we knew Ryan was going to be tested. I remember being in the car, driving to the doctor. It was just like a regular kid checkup at the pediatrician, and I remember my mom saying to Ryan, can I ask the doctor about what you've been experiencing recently? Just, my parents were noticing things like me running faster than him when we would race, and other things too that just seemed like some things weren't right. And so then I remember my parents telling us that Ryan has this, and that was the first time that I saw my dad cry. I don't know if you remember any of that.
I just vaguely remember just after he was diagnosed. Like, I don't remember people wondering about what was wrong with him, but I just remember when he was diagnosed, mom and dad crying on the front porch swing. Like, that's
on the front porch. Okay, I remember in the living room is where they told us, and then that's where I saw them cry.
I don't remember them telling us.
Okay.
Specifically.
Yeah, that just stands out in my memory as, like, the first time I saw my dad cry. Mm-hmm. So that's why that really stands out to me. And then, I remember them, I don't specifically remember them telling us this, but I know they did. Like, they said it could affect more of us in the family, if some of us girls could be carriers of it. Well, at that point, it was only me and Sheri that were born. So, I remember them saying that we were going to all get tested for it. And I do remember just saying, like, oh, I'm fine. I didn't notice anything different about myself. And so I just thought, I don't have this, because carriers can have symptoms of it, usually a lot more mild than the boys have it. But, I just remember thinking, I'm fine. I don't need to be tested. But nonetheless, we all got tested, and Sheri and I both were carriers. And thankfully, Tyler did not have it at all, which, thank the Lord, because that would have been crazy.
I don't really remember being told, like, you are a carrier. Like, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Specifically. But, I mean, now looking back on that, it just feels like I always knew that, and it wasn't like I found this out at a certain point in time. I feel like I was just kind of the little one who was, like, not really aware.
Yeah, how does a 4-year-old understand that? It's impossible. And I hardly even did 2 at 7.
Mm-hmm. So what happened after Ryan was diagnosed? In the church?
Yeah, I do remember having an anointing service at church for Ryan, and then they just had like a special prayer for Sheri and I. And I know I cried. I remember crying a lot, but I still didn't really understand everything. It was kind of just like everyone else was crying, and so I cried, but it's not like I really comprehended everything or understood exactly like what Ryan's life was going to look like.
The one thing you had said when we were talking about this earlier is you mentioned something about how different things were important around our house because Ryan was a little bit unsteady on his feet. And what were some of those things like that we're more strict on in our family than other people's?
Yeah, I remember like my parents were very like strict about like us leaving our shoes around on the floor, so where Ryan, because Ryan would fall very easily, And yeah, it was just hard for him to like get back up and all that. So I do remember a time where Ryan tripped on my shoes and I got yelled at. And so yeah, it's just something different, our family growing up compared to like other families. Like my older brother tripped on my shoes and like I got yelled at for it. Like it's just interesting because that doesn't happen in most houses, but because of the circumstances, yeah, that's just how it was.
That obviously wasn't the only way that our lives were affected, and
yeah, no,
it's kind of hard to know exactly how much you are affected as a carrier because it varies from carrier to carrier, but we definitely were affected physically. And when you're a carrier, you have one affected X chromosome with the disease. So it's like how much of the cells in your body have the affected gene versus the non-affected or chromosome. So then if you have more cells that use the affected chromosome, then you're more affected, and if you have less, you're less affected. So it kind of varies between carrier to carrier, and between us sisters it did vary as well. So
yeah, we're all on a Carriers of MD Facebook page, and they're like the people that are posting on there, like it's like horrible. Like they have really bad symptoms, and it's just, yeah, it's crazy and really awful. And then yeah, and my heart gets really upset when people post stuff like saying about how like people aren't sensitive to them or say they should just be fine, and I'm just like, what? Like I just feel so bad for them because yeah, it's awful, and it does affect them, and yeah, there's no denying it.
And the ones who are affected more clearly are called manifesting carriers,
and so what are we?
I don't know, because I'm like, it seems like
we're mildly affected, but not like we're in a wheelchair or anything.
I don't really quite understand that, because I feel like every carrier is manifesting in some way, but just it's kind of, you're not really recognized as being affected unless you're very clearly being affected by it. Which, not across the board, but there's a lot of times people will be like trying to talk to their doctors about things and they just are like not listened to. So what were some of the things throughout, for us, we think a lot about our high school and being in school, because then you're really seeing how you are compared physically to your classmates. What are some of the ways that you know that you were affected?
I don't know. It's really hard to like explain even. I remember being like really actually into like soccer when I was in middle school, and like I could just like run all over and like be fine. But like now I'm like, I literally could not do, I mean, I can run, but like not that long. And like so I don't know, it's kind of crazy because I probably, I don't know, things probably got harder as we got older. And I remember I was really into volleyball when I was in like 8th and 9th grade, 10th grade maybe even. But I don't know, when it got to like 11th, 12th grade, I was just burned out. And I don't know, and our family would do cleaning jobs in the evenings. So a lot of times I would go from like volleyball practice and then go clean, and it was just not fun. It was just, I literally hardly had the energy for it. Yeah, and it was like I didn't have a choice of doing the cleaning jobs. Like I had to do that. And so with volleyball, I was like, well, I just want to quit that because that's something I can actually quit. I didn't have a choice whether or not I could go clean with my family. But yeah, so I did play most of the time. I think maybe like 11th grade, I played the whole volleyball season, and then I was just done. I needed a break. And so then I just didn't play again. We kind of like, our schools go to this convention later on in the year after volleyball season, and I just like didn't play for that because I needed a break. And then I did play again senior year, but I don't know. I'm not even a sporty girl to begin with. I don't really enjoy watching sports. I don't really enjoy playing sports that much. So it just wasn't really my thing, and I just wasn't feeling like the energy for it either. But yeah, I did play my senior year, but I still like, I don't know, it just wasn't like, I didn't care about it that much, I guess. I remember during the time when like I wasn't playing for that convention or whatever, a classmate asked me why I wasn't playing, and I was like, I just can't right now. Like I don't feel the energy. Like I feel like I'm just affected by this muscle thing. And she said, well, why don't you just do your best? And I was like, well, yeah, but like it's kind of just like it hurts. Like it hurts my body. Like
And it's just not worth it. It comes to a point where it's just not worth it to put yourself through the exertion to do something when you're not going to be that good at it anyways, even if you put forth all that effort.
Yeah.
Also, volleyball at our school is kind of a big thing. Like most people are on the volleyball team. And I kind of had a similar thing where like I feel like I was a little bit more affected earlier, but definitely by the time it was like my junior, senior year, I was just like not as into volleyball anymore. And I think it was that thing of just like for the effort I would put in, it wouldn't be rewarding enough through the effort. So it just became like something I didn't really enjoy doing that much anymore. Also, the thing is that for us, we can keep playing volleyball, but it's not going to get, most people would like get more in shape and be more able to play better. But for us, it doesn't really get any easier the more we do something.
Yeah. Or just even like running in high school. And like I did it. I ran track and I could do it, but like I was just like I would train and stuff and run, but like it was still like painful every time. And I'm just like you think, I should be getting stronger from this, but that's not really the way it works if you're a carrier of MD. Like you literally, like I can't make my leg muscles get stronger. Like training and whatnot, like it just makes it worse almost. Unless you moderate exercise is good and whatever, but you need to know what you can handle. Like, and if your muscles are telling you like, don't do this, then don't do it, because it's probably not doing you any good. Not that we shouldn't go through any like hard things at all. Sometimes like you have to push through. And yeah, we should talk about hiking.
Hiking is pretty difficult, and I used to be able to keep up okay with people, and like I could like stay at the front of the pack when we were hiking. Like I feel like I was able to do that when I was younger, but recently I just realized like I just can't do it. And I did this really intense hike when I was at Sattler. We climbed this mountain. It's called Mount Monadnock, and I would just say that I would never do that again ever, because it was kind of one of those things where I'd first come to like a new group of people that nobody knew anything about, like my background or me being a carrier of MD. And so I kind of had said something. They were like, oh, warning people, like this is a pretty intense hike, but oh, it'll be worth it. And so I did go through the hike that everybody else was doing, and I made it to the top, but it was like really, really hard. And for days afterwards, I was like affected and could hardly like carry my laundry up the stairs. It was a big struggle in the next days after that. And it was really hard. Really soon after we started hiking, it was like my whole body was sore already. My arms, my legs, everything. And I knew that I could get to the top. I kept being like, should I just stop and turn around? But I knew like I could push myself and I could make it to the top. But then there were going
to be like consequences for that.
Exactly. And I made it to the top, and even now, like looking back, some people are like, oh yeah, remember that hike? It was so hard. And they're like, but it was worth it and stuff. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, the hike was really hard, and like I regret going on that because it wasn't worth it. And I should have known what my limits were. And I have a classmate who's blind, and of course he wasn't going on the hike, and it was just like I knew I was like I need to stay back. I should just stay back with him, and I shouldn't go on this hike. But then it was just like that FOMO and like, oh, but everybody's doing it and I should do it too. And yeah, it was really hard, and I wish that I wouldn't have done it, and I'll never do it again.
Yeah, no, I would say I could probably still do like a moderate hike. Like I could walk up to the sand quarry or whatever, but I could not do that. Like I remember one time in Grenada, I taught there for a year or 9 months. Anyway, we climbed up like a mountain and then down the other side to like go to this restaurant we were going to on like the other side. And like I think I made it up fine, and in the way and like whatever, I made it down, but just like I could literally hardly walk once we got over and down. Like, I literally could barely walk. Like, it hurt so bad. And I was just like, wow, like, I don't know why I just did that. Like, and I didn't hike there a lot because I couldn't. I mean, a few times I did, but it wasn't, like, a super hard one. So, yeah, but that's something that, like, stands out in my mind is, like, well, Sheri was saying, like, she can't go out for a run. And I maybe I could, but also it wouldn't be good for me. So, yeah, I'm not going to push myself to do that.
And when we got into the bottom of that hike that I had done, I literally I started falling over. Not falling, like, I would, like, fall. And I was like, that had never happened to me before, where it was just like, I can't even stay on my own 2 feet anymore. And I was just like,
wow.
Like, I never actually fell, but I kept, like, almost collapsing, like, a couple times, like, really close to the end. And I was just like, I just pushed myself way too hard where, like, I can't even, like, walk anymore.
Clearly that was not good for you. Yeah, when I heard the story, I was just like, Sheri, what? Why on earth did you do that? Like, I would have told her, like, no, do not do that. But I didn't know she was doing this.
Yeah. I wish that I wouldn't have.
Yeah, that's actually something, like, looking back that we wish we would have, like, realized our limits sooner and been, like, okay, and not embarrassed to say, like, I actually can't do this, and, like, whatever, and explain the reasons why. Because, yeah, sometimes, like, we felt stupid, and we didn't want to just be, like, yeah, we didn't...
lazy. I didn't want to look like I was lazy to other people.
Okay, no, that wasn't what it was for me. I think I was just embarrassed for a while to even, like, talk about it or say, like, I'm a carrier of MD, and this affects me physically. Like, I didn't want to utter those words. I don't know, I think it was just, like, not wanting people to think that I'm less than or that I'm weak or... Yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't want to be treated differently because of that. And just, like, I don't know, embarrassed over, like, that imperfection I thought I had. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely wish I would have learned that sooner in life. Just being like, you know, I can't do this. My body can't.
I wish I would have talked about it more. I kind of just, like, always was like, oh, they probably know. Especially people who were in my life for a long time. Oh, they probably know about this, and I kind of just never took the initiative to be like, oh, I could, like, tell people about this and know if they knew or not, and yeah, not have been. I didn't feel like I was afraid to do that. I just didn't, and I don't really know why. I just didn't, especially in high school. Like, I don't ever remember talking. I didn't ever talk to, like, all the girls about that part of me. Another thing that I wanted us to touch on is that, yeah, as a high schooler, knowing that you're a carrier of this disease that your brother has and that could affect your children, like, how did that affect how you viewed your future of getting married and having a family?
Yeah, I didn't really start thinking about it till I was probably, like, 15, 16, somewhere around there. And, like, yeah, I worried that no one would want to marry me because why would they? Like, why would they want to deal with this too? Thinking about their kids having the possibility of them having this. And so, I don't know, I guess, like, my dad really helped me work through that. And yeah, he was always like, hey, you're kind of lucky because you know that a guy's actually going to love you for you. Like... and if that scares him away, then you don't want him anyway. So that's what my dad would just always say.
Yeah, I also feel like I remember thinking, like, oh, I'll know if somebody is actually a good one or, like, really interested because they would be willing to be in a relationship with me even knowing that. But I think sometimes I would just, like, tell myself that and not really actually think about it too much. I think along with that, I was kind of, like... People would always ask me, like, oh, do you like anybody, this and that? And I'd always just be like, no, I don't, because I remember thinking, like, that a lot of guys, I was like, they wouldn't marry me, so why would I, like them? Like, waste time liking them.
And you're so logical about things.
Yeah. So I think that I just thought that, like, most people wouldn't like me, so then I just didn't bother saying that I liked them, even though that was... being honest, I was, like, yeah, attracted to different guys and, like, oh, they're cute or whatever, this and that. But I was always just like, no, I don't like them, though, because I didn't think that many guys would like me, given that.
Yeah, no, that didn't really stop me from crushing on guys. But yeah, and it was, like, I was not, like, I was seriously thinking logically, like, that far down the road. Like, I wasn't really thinking about
just, like, in the
marriage, yeah. So I didn't tie those two things together.
Yeah. So then, throughout your high school experience, you are now married to Caleb, and you guys went to school together, were in the same grade, went to the same church. Your dads grew up together, were friends. So how did that start to develop as a romantic relationship?
Yeah, Caleb actually liked me for very many years, probably starting in, like, middle school, maybe even young. Maybe, I think when he was in Nicaragua, his Caleb was in like whatever, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade maybe while they were there. So I think he started liking me during that time. So basically I knew that he liked me pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I would just like hear rumors and things, or people at school would say stuff like about him liking me or whatever. So I think I kind of knew that he liked me in the middle school. And yeah, it's funny. My dad was our teacher, and yeah, I did not like Caleb at that point though. He was kind of nerdy, and I don't know. That's a good way to describe him.
Yep.
But anyway, it's funny because my dad was my middle school teacher, and he would like say stuff to the guys like, you better be able to run faster than a bullet or catch a bullet between your teeth if you're going to marry my daughter. And so I was just like, I'm never getting married, like ever. These are the things the guys my age are hearing from my dad. So no, he was definitely just kidding. I got to high school, and eventually I started noticing him probably in like 10th grade about. One time Camille and I were in the bathroom at school, and she told me that Caleb liked me, and she said, do you like him? This was in like 10th grade.
And Camille is Caleb's sister.
Yeah, Camille is Caleb's sister. And I said no. And then I went, and then literally I did though, or I was like starting to like him. And then I felt really horrible that I said that I didn't, because I thought I ruined a lifetime of happiness, because I thought that Camille was going to tell Caleb that I don't like him, and then he's going to quit liking me. And so, yeah, it's kind of funny. I like called her crying like the next day, or that, I kind of forget. I called her crying, and I was like, I actually do like him. And
Wow.
I don't know if she ever told Caleb that I said I liked him. I really have no idea. I don't think she did. So I was actually surprised she actually told me Caleb liked me at that point, because she like very tight-lipped about those things, especially when Caleb and I were like out of school. Yeah, so I liked him 10th grade, probably 11th grade. I know I liked him like all year. And then I got to 12th grade, and I just like eventually was just like, I will never date this guy. One thing that stands out in my mind is senior missions trip, or yeah, it was, us seniors and juniors were on the trip, and him and my cousins got into a little bit of a little tiff because they were digging a ditch or something outside. It was like a work project at the house we were staying at. Caleb got tired of my cousin singing, and he, I guess, threw dirt on them. And then, I don't know, they threw dirt back on him, and I was just like, oh my word, this guy he needs help. So it was kind of on that trip that I was like, nope, I will not date this guy. And then he asked me out 6 months after we graduated about, and I said no. And yeah, that was kind of really hard, because like he was like a family friend. I felt really bad. And yeah, I was just kind of confused, because like I did like him a lot before, and I kind of just wanted to like him a lot again, because like that just felt like the easy thing. Yeah, then I wouldn't have to like trust God to like make something happen later, whether it was him or someone else, or yeah. So I didn't really like him at the time, but I also wished that I did, because I was like, this just makes sense. Like, whatever, I know his family. Even though I was like, okay, thought he was a little bit immature, I still like trusted him, and I knew that he would be a good husband. I knew that he would be a good dad to any possible children in the future. I knew all those things to be true of him. Then maybe like 9 months after he asked me out, I left for Grenada, teach school there. And while I was there, I realized that I actually did like him deep down inside. And I decided that I would say yes if he would ask me out again. Well, then I went home from Grenada, and then I really started liking him. And then he left for IGO maybe like a month after I got back. And so I was like really sad when he left. I was like, wow, like that just, I guess, showed me kind of like, wow, I actually really, really like him, because I felt really sad when he left, and I knew he was going to be gone for like 4 months. And then he came back from IGO, and I was like, oh, like whatever, maybe something will happen. And then he just completely ignored me. So he forever is so happy that he has the last laugh, and that I was the one that started liking him again then. So he kind of just like moved on. He was like, okay, she doesn't like me. There's nothing there. There's not going to be anything there. And I'm over here like, okay, I really like you again. And he was just, like, he did not talk to me. And later on, it's just funny to realize, like, all the reasons and all that, everything. But eventually then, he randomly started talking to me again. And so I was like, what is going on? Like, I definitely noticed that he started treating me differently than how he did when he first came back from IGO. Like, he actually talked to me. Okay, so yeah, eventually Caleb starts talking to me again, and then we were at the sold out event in Lancaster, and then afterwards, like, a bunch of people went to McDonald's. It was funny because that weekend is the first weekend where I just, like, looked at him as a friend. Like, I was like, okay, if nothing happens, like, it's okay. He's just a friend. And then, yes, we're all at McDonald's, and then somehow, like, we landed up being the last ones there, and, like, Caleb and his brother were there, and then Sheri went to the bathroom, and so, like, it was just, like, me and Caleb there talking, and I was like, this is so weird, like, he never talks to me, and, like, it was just like, what? Anyway, so it was just kind of funny. We both somehow landed being there later than everyone else. Finally, Sheri came out of the bathroom and we left.
So how did it feel then when you started dating and you're now in a relationship that could potentially lead towards marriage with the knowledge that you are a carrier of muscular dystrophy? I think that is when it becomes more, like, prevalent to, like, this is right here and right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely really hard for Caleb. I mean, when we started dating, we both kind of knew, like, we're getting married, like, right away because of all the background, all that led up to that. We just, like, when he finally asked me out, I just, like, knew it was, like, the right thing. And yeah, he kind of felt the same way too. And yeah, that was probably the hardest thing for us in our dating relationship. Not that we, like, almost broke up or anything over it, but it was just, like, a big thing that we had to talk about and think about. And yeah, it was just a lot for him to think about, of course. And he knew this because we grew up together, and he knew about this ever since Ryan was diagnosed, and he knew that me and Sheri were carriers of it. And yeah, it was definitely something really hard for him. And so that was, yeah, really hard for me to see it be really hard for him. It's like you just want to protect everyone around you. Like, yeah, sometimes it just feels like, well, I can handle this, but I don't want to see it affect, it's really hard to see it affect other people. Like, you just wish you could, like, shield them from the pain of that. Yeah, but yeah, I had to remember too, like, when we would talk about it, like, that it didn't change the way that he felt about me. It didn't mean that he didn't love me, because that was something that was hard for him. Yeah, and then we got married. We dated for, like, 4.5 months, and then we were engaged for 4.5 months. So it was, like, 9 months total from beginning of dating till getting married. And yeah, we weren't really ready to have children right away. Looking back, I am really grateful that we had that time to just, like, learn to get to know each other first and learn how to work through things and just get closer before having kids. Not even really because of the MD thing. I don't know. I just wasn't ready. I was doing cleaning jobs. I was enjoying it. And yeah, I just wasn't ready. And now that I'm a parent, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful we had those years to have quiet evenings. We were married 3 years and about 2 months when found out we were expecting. Yeah, it was nice to have a few years of, like, just us, but of course we wouldn't trade it for anything. We're very grateful for Ayla. When we were finally ready, that was, like, a whole nother level of something. I didn't really realize what that would be like. It was a whole new level of grief. Like, I feel like I had grieved everything already, but I just, like, had to grieve it all over again. Like, yeah, just, like, why this happened to our family. Mm-hmm. Like, I just had to grieve that this was even a thing that I had to think about. It was like, it's just not fair. Like, why do I even have to think about this? Like, why did it happen? Why? Yeah, just so many questions. And it was a really hard time of grieving, really. I felt like I had to grieve before I actually, like, decided that I was ready, because it was just really hard. And I don't even feel like I was completely surrendered when I found out I was pregnant. I was still like, this is really hard. I mean, yeah, I want God to do what he sees best in my life, but that doesn't always mean that I feel that. Like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, because of course we want to be in God's will, but yeah, our flesh most of the time is like, no, no, no. Yeah, of course, we wouldn't choose something that hard to be a part of our story. Yeah, eventually I just knew we were ready. And so, yeah, we did really pray that God would give us a daughter because we knew that, yeah, she could still be a carrier of it, but it would not be the full effects of, yeah, having a boy with it. And, yeah, another reason, too, is I just always dreamed of having a daughter. And so I was like, yeah, it's just so hard to know because I was like, well, if I have a boy with MD for the first child, like, will I have any more? It's just, there's so many unknowns. And so I just was so worried that I was only ever going to have one child. And I just, yeah, really prayed that God would give us a girl. And yeah, I do still want to have more children. But yeah, I'm just grateful that the first one is not a boy with MD because just going forward, that would just be really hard.
Yeah.
In knowing, am I going to have another one with MD?
Yeah, if you're looking at like doubling.
Yeah, and so I'm grateful that God answered that prayer. Obviously, it would have been okay if he would have chosen something else. Like, yeah, we're grateful for any child that God would give us. But I do feel very fortunate that, yeah, that was just, I think, my fear my whole life was my first child being a boy with MD. And so I'm just really grateful that that did not happen. We did get Ayla tested for being a carrier when she was like a few weeks old.
And first, though, it would have been a big deal when we found out that she was a girl. Did you want to...
Yeah. We did like the 10-week blood test. So we found out very early on if she was a boy or a girl. And yeah, it just felt so relieving. And then I just feel like I probably enjoyed the pregnancy more than knowing that, okay, it's a girl. Mm-hmm. I do not have to worry about this. I just wanted to find out as soon as possible because, yeah, I don't know. I guess that would have been really hard then to go a long time knowing that it was a boy and, like, does he have it or not? But I just knew it would probably be good just to find out so that way I can, like, be prepared either way. And also, I knew that I wasn't going to be doing, like, amniocentesis, which is when they, like, test in utero whether or not the baby has the genetic mutation. And so, yeah, I knew that I would be waiting the whole 40 weeks till the baby was born. You know, if it would have been a boy, I would have had to wait that whole entire time of not knowing. Because I just didn't feel comfortable with doing the amnio. And so, yeah, I'm just very grateful that, yeah, I knew most of the pregnancy that it was a girl, and yeah, I just didn't really worry about her being a carrier because, yeah, it obviously, like, is worse for some more than others. I knew that that could still be hard for her, but, like, I know, like, you can live with it. It's not horrible, mm-hmm. Although I wish it was different, and I wish I wasn't affected by it at all, but I also feel like I live a very functional, like, normal life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that wasn't
easy to feel that way when you have a sibling that can do so little, and then you're like, well, yeah, look how much quality of life, like how functional I am as a person, even though you do have some limitations.
Yeah, exactly. So we got Ayla tested, then a few weeks old, and yeah, it did come back that she is a carrier of MD, and so that was really disappointing. I don't know, I guess I was like, God answered like every other prayer we had, and so I was just like, you know, he's gonna answer this prayer too. And I don't know, I felt pretty confident that she wasn't going to be. I'm not really sure why, I just did. And so, yeah, that was really hard.
And I was really hoping, too, 100% of the girls in our family who could have been carriers are. All three of our sisters, our mom. And then I was like, can we finally have a girl who can, like, not worry about it and be, like, completely unaffected and be able to have as many children as she wants. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, that was sad to find that out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one thing, too, like, thinking about grandkids. It's like, I really want to have grandkids. I don't care. I don't need to have, of course, if God blesses me with 50 grandkids, that's great. But, I want to have at least a few. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things we could go into with that, too, though. There is a lot of hope for, like, gene therapies that will be helping in the future. Even now, they're starting new ones that really do seem to be helping. I forget, I think maybe 4 or 5-year-olds they're giving injections to, and they're starting to do more than they used to be able to. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of hope with that, and so, I don't know, maybe I'm too positive. I'm not very worried. And that's like so far down the road till Ayla would ever be ready to have children, obviously.
Yeah. I feel like things will improve so much by the time, like, we have grandkids.
Yeah.
That I'm, like, not willing to just be like, oh, I just shouldn't have any kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, I asked, a genetic therapist. I was like, am I being too, like, optimistic that there's going to be something that helps? And she said, no, like, there's definitely more reason to have hope than not. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that was really encouraging. I do really believe that things are going to be different eventually, but it's just a matter of when. Obviously, I'm not depending on that either. Like, yeah. But it seems like it's moving in that direction.
So, given your experience, what advice or encouragement would you give to someone who carries a genetic disease and is thinking about having a family?
I would say that your desire to have children is valid. You are allowed to want to have kids. Because I think sometimes, like, I kind of feel stupid. Like, why? I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, maybe I just shouldn't. Maybe people think, why are you doing this when this could happen? Mm-hmm. Or... yeah, like, I'm not worthy to even think about having kids, like, because, yeah, I shouldn't be. But, yeah, I think that God placed that desire in most people. Yeah, there are some people out there who don't have the desire to have biological kids, but most people do. And so, yeah, that's God-given, and you are allowed to desire that. We both read the book, No Easy Choice, and that was really good to hear from she's a carrier of something else, but it was just really good to hear someone else talk about it, and it was like, wow, like, yes, I can really relate with this. And so, yeah, I really felt validated after reading that book. Like, I am allowed to want to have kids, and, hopefully God will bless me with them, and if he doesn't, that's his choice. But, like, I'm allowed to feel that desire, and it's okay. And it's not that I don't deserve to have any biological kids.
Yeah, I don't think that I had ever heard anybody else besides, like, us and our family, like, talk about having a disease like that. So I found it really encouraging and, yeah, very validating to be like, oh, this is why she still wants to have kids and had kids and all these things. And it was really good to read.
Yeah, she talked about some people would say to her, well, why don't you just adopt? And yeah, adoption is really a good thing. And yeah, she was just saying that it's also not just like the easy fix it all. Like, here, just adopt. It's
not an easy answer.
Yeah, it's not exactly what the book is titled, No Easy Choice. It isn't just the Band-Aid that's going to fix it all. Like,
and you also shouldn't go into adoption kind of trying to fill a void in your life. So it's not just like, oh, you can't have kids, just adopt instead. It's not just like a one-to-one, like, this is the same thing, equal. It's, yeah, a really good thing, but it's a different thing.
Yeah, she said a lot of times she wanted to turn around and say, why don't you adopt? Because she was saying, like, a case could be made that every Christian family adopts. And so, yeah, not that I'm against adoption either, and maybe that would be something in the future that I want to do, but at this point, it's not what I'm passionate about right in this stage of life. Just interesting that she talked about that. It's just like, either way is hard. And so, yeah, there's not an easy choice.
No. And something that I had always thought about with, like, yeah, the thing of, like, should I even have kids and all this stuff was, I kind of remember having this fear of, like, God would want me to be single because of having that in my life. And mostly it stemmed from reading The Hiding Place about Corrie ten Boom and her sister. And I just remember, I don't know what grade I was in or whatever, but I remember reading about her sister who had some kind of health thing. I don't even remember what exactly it was. I just remember that she came to the conclusion that she's just going to be single and she's not going to pursue marriage. She's not going to do anything with that because of this thing that was in her life. And I just remember being afraid after that of, like, what if God wants me to be single? And honestly, it was never, like, what I really wanted with my life. I was like, no, I want to get married and I want to have a family, all these things. And I think that I really just held on to that fear that God would have that for me, which I wish that I would have just been able to trust, like, no, if that's what God would have for me, then that is what I would want, or, like, it would be good. But I think that I always struggled with, but that's not really what I want, and being scared that God was going to ask that of me. Okay, one thing that I am going to end each of my episodes with is some fun questions, and the first one that I have is, what is one thing that you do that gives you life?
Okay, so the thing I thought of for this is going to Open Gate every Tuesday night. We have, I don't really call it, it's not really a kids club to me, because we have older women in our class ranging from 19, maybe, we even have a 44-year-old in our class. So it's great. It's like some girls who have grown up coming to Open Gate are still coming, and they bring their little kids and their babies. And we also have a babysitting class. Some youth girls babysit their kids while the moms go to class. And then some of them just are moms that have been bringing their kids, and so they just joined our older girls class. It's really amazing. I love going there and spending time with them, and a lot of them have been coming for years, and so it's just like we're one big family, and it's great. Even if we don't have much of a lesson planned or whatever, they just love to hang out and talk, and so it's just good to connect with them every week. It's a little bit harder now having a child. I bring her along, and sometimes she's just losing it by the end and just wants to go home and go to bed. So, that's another learning curve too. But, it's still good to be involved with that.
What is one hot take that you have?
Well, honestly, I really couldn't think of any. And if I had any, I wouldn't want to share it, because I really do not like to be controversial at all.
Wow. Okay. Also, what is one thing that you love?
Okay, so I love organizing, and now that I have a child, it's a little bit different. The house doesn't stay perfectly clean all day and everything exactly in its organizational spot, but I still love, when she goes to bed, to just clean up everything up, clean up all the toys and everything. And so, even if the house doesn't stay organized all day, it just feels good to go to bed with everything back in its place. And I don't know, I just love to reorganize things, and I feel like I'm always reorganizing Ayla's clothing drawers, and okay, this is too small. I don't know, I just love to change things around, and that's just fun to me.
Yeah. And finally, what has been inspirational or educational to you recently?
I honestly don't even know where this verse is from. But the other day when I was having my quiet time, I was feeling kind of just seeing all my imperfections, I guess, and why am I still struggling with this? And that or whatever, and just wanting to have it all together. And the thought came to my mind that God rejoices over me with singing, even though I'm not perfect, even though everything. So that was just a really encouraging thought, that I was like, wow, it's okay. Even though I'm not perfect and I still make these mistakes over and over again, God rejoices over me. And then, soon after that, the Sunday school teacher also was talking about that verse in Sunday school. And I was like, wow, I'm really supposed to hear this verse right now. So, yeah.
So thank you, Tiffany, for coming on and talking today. We have lots of conversations, lots of times about a lot of different things. So it was... it's nice for us to sit down and share it with other people.
And I just feel we also miss so much. There's literally so much more we could have talked about with whole carrier, MD, and all of that. So I don't know if we'll add on a little segment at the end, or I don't know. Maybe we'll just end it there.
Maybe we'll have a part 2. There'll be later. I mean, in the future.
Yeah, maybe we need a part 2.
We'll have to have more stuff in the future. But just thanks for being on.
And as always, love God, love people, and seek His kingdom first.